So next we're going to take a look at the lights. Now with the lights, what we want to do is we're going to use what's called ID maps to save us a ton of time so that we can apply multiple materials without having to deal with all the masking to one texture set. So let's go ahead and show you how to work with that. So we'll go here and we're going to make these lights. We'll say 4K because there's a lot of lights in the scene. We'll grab the lights here. We'll hit open, pull those in. And it's going to automatically UV unwrap these for us. Great, so now we have our lights imported here, and we can see that these would be kind of quite complicated to go around clicking all these ropes, trying to paint the inside of these lights and various objects if we wanted to kind of do multiple materials. Yet they're not large enough objects or important enough objects that we want multiple material sets to manage. At least I wouldn't want to. I'd rather just kind of do it all on one setting. So let's go ahead here. And what we're going to do is we're going to bake mesh maps. Now, before I told you that you don't change many of these settings, but the one you're probably often going to change is your ID. So up here you have your color source, and this is how it's going to create your ID map. And this really depends on how you do it. If you want to set your kind of material color, file ID, mesh ID, or vertex color. Now I find most often you're going to be using the material color or the vertex color to kind of identify your ID map. In my case, I used vertex painting. So I'm going to bake those light mesh maps. And now let's take a look at our map. And we can see that with this ID map, we now have these like various colors. Now this will save us a ton of time in terms of masking. I'm going to show you two ways to do that. So first, let's come back here to base color. And we can see that we have nothing there. So we're going to drag a random material on there. So let's grab an aluminum material. And I'm going to turn this to material up there. And now what we're going to do is let's grab this copper. Let's grab something with a little more contrast than that. Let's grab this plastic mat. So that'll be pretty clear the difference between the two. Now we can add a mask using that ID map, and there are two ways to do that. I'm going to show you kind of the manual way first. So we're going to right click here. We're going to add a mask with color selection. And then down here, we can see our ID mask, and we have the choice of kind of picking a color. So first what we'll do is you can pick this color, and when you grab that little picker, it will bring up this here. So let's say that we want the plastic to kind of be for our kind of like light shade there. And we can see that now it has selected everything on that ID map. So you can kind of predetermine which things you want to share materials in your 3D application and use these ID maps to speed up workflow. Now let me show you an even quicker way to do it. If you want to kind of avoid that color selection there, what you can actually do is as you're dragging it into the viewport, hold Control, and it will show you the different ID maps when you hover over, and you can determine where you want to do them. And you can grab that there, and you can see that it's done the same process. It's just done it automatically for you. And that is a way that you can really save time when applying to materials to objects with kind of multiple materials. Let's go ahead and kind of add some quick smart materials to these lights and adjust some parameters. So first of all, they have a bronze armor, and I think I'm going to use that for these kind of like light stands up here. So let's just go ahead, drag the bronze armor, hit Control click. We can see that that will apply to those there. And then let's go ahead and add kind of a rubber material there. So I'm just going to use a smart material for that rubber, and I can go ahead and search that here. We have a rubber dry. So we'll go ahead, grab that, put that there. Now I'm going to go ahead and kind of apply another metal material to these pipes here. And with the pipes, I really just want something to kind of contrast what I had prior. So I'm going to search steel, and I think I'm going to use this kind of steel dark aged. And let's see how that looks up next to the copper. And that's great because we don't really want something overly distracting when it's on the roof like that, because it's not going to be the focus of the scene. So you wouldn't really want like bright green bars on your lights up there. So let's go ahead. We'll add that to the bars here as well. And then we can go ahead and choose a color for these. Now, one thing you could actually do is you could actually add some images and things like little stained glass kind of drawings or paintings if you've ever seen those kind of more antique lights. But we'll be covering those techniques later. So for now, let's just go ahead and kind of use a smart material. So for these lampshades, I'm not actually going to use glass. I'm going to kind of make them opaque. So I'm going to choose something like this kind of steel paint, and I'm going to drag this on there, and I'm going to hold Control, and that's going to apply to that lampshade. Now in this case, I want both of these to be the same color, but if I Control and click drag again, you will see that it will add that to the same mat without creating a second material, which is really nice. And then we can come down in here, we can grab the base material down here, and we can play with that and kind of change the color. I want a little bit more of kind of like a foresty green because I'm going for a little bit brighter colors in my scene. And I'm pretty happy with that. And then if you want, you can play with those smart materials and kind of get some better settings on here. I'm just going to leave it at default there. These lights aren't really the focus of the scene. And with that, let's move on to our next object.